Welcome back to Create Alignment, the space where we explore the edges of consciousness. And in today's episode, we're going to journey beyond the physical realm. If you've ever felt that there's more to life, more to you than just your body, you're exactly where you need to be. My guest today, Andre, also known as TheAlchemist369, is a seasoned out-of-body explorer who's accessed realms that most only glimpse in their dreams. Through hundreds of conscious journeys beyond the veil, he's gathered powerful insights on the soul path and life beyond Earth and what it means to remember who we really are. This isn't just theory, he's lived these things. And today, he's here to share how these experiences can completely shift the way we connect, create, and show up here in our IBE, or our in-body experience on Earth. So, take a breath, open your mind, and let's step into this higher consciousness together. Thank you, Andre, for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry. Thank you for inviting me. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah. So I personally don't know exactly what led you to your out of body experience
Mhm.
in the first place. So if you could just share that briefly, and then I'll go through the whole list of questions I have.
Yeah, sure. So, Sherry, my journey to the out of body experience, it started just like many other people here. You have a strong knowing that this reality may not be all there is, and this knowing leads you to a lot of times searching for spiritual answers. A lot of people resort to things like meditation, chakra, kundalini awakening, and things like that. And my path was very similar to that. I spent, several years going down that journey. Um, and then my mom passed away. She passed away April of 2023. And when she passed away, at first, immediately, of course, I felt sorrow and grief. But it wasn't long after her death that I start receiving messages from her. And I just had these feelings and knowings that, wow, she is okay. And she was also telling me, I can figure out where we go when we leave when I'm here. Like that was this knowing that I had within me. Cause, we always talked about, what happens when we go. Do we believe in, things like extraterrestrials and things like that? These were conversations that we always had. So she was sending me messages that, hey, you can figure this out now. And at that same time, I was experiencing what we call sleep paralysis every night. That was happening like every night. And, I don't know if anybody has ever had sleep paralysis, but when you have it, it is a frightening experience, right? You wake up, you can't move. It is a very frightening thing. Um, but so I'm on YouTube one day. Um, I'm looking at interviews and near death experiences and things like that, just trying to go a little deeper, trying to figure out, where we are and what this place really is. And I had been doing things like astral projection for a while. Um, but then I came across a video of a guy named Darius J. Wright. And in his video, it was on Next Level Soul podcast. And in his video, he was talking about sleep paralysis and how it is the gateway to the other side. And then he wasn't just talking about it, then he began to actually discuss the other side and saying how it's physical, it's real, and he was able to see and experience all of these things. And then he wasn't just telling me, that he experiences it, but he also teaches others how to experience this for themselves. So once I heard that, I was instantly hooked and my journey began.
Wow, that's amazing. And I had a similar experience when my mom also passed away.
Mm,
And she went into hospice care. She actually moved into my house at the time and was living in the lower level of my house. And this was actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you to see if you have any, if you're familiar with how this can happen. But she was in the lower level. I went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night and she was tickling my leg like she did when I was little. And she just said, "Sis, everything's going to be okay." So then I fell asleep and I was in that semi-sleep state where if I was conscious enough, I would have been like, "Oh, mom, why do you look angelic? You look younger and healthy." But I just fell asleep. The next morning, my sister calls, and it was my niece's birthday, and her and I are just talking for a second, and then it occurs to me that my mom was in my room the night before. So I'm thinking she passed away that night. So I say something to my sister about my mom being in my room, and she said, "Stop. Mom was in my room last night." And mind you, she lives an hour and a half away. And she was like, she was tickling my leg, telling me everything was going to be okay. And I was like, "She was in my room last night, exact same thing. What the heck?" And then I was, of course, nervous that I was going to find her and I wasn't emotionally prepared to do that alone. So I said, "Please stay on the phone with me so I can go down there." So I go downstairs and I go into my mom's room and I, she was, the lights were out and I went close enough and she was breathing. And this was in October of 2011. And and then I sneak out of the room and I'm like, "Holly, how did that happen? I don't understand." Holly's my sister. I'm like, "I don't not understand how that just happened because she's clearly still breathing." Well, she ended up um, going into actual hospice and living until December 26th. But what I know now is something called bilocation, where your consciousness can bilocate. And I assume from the videos I've watched of yours that that was somehow her astral body, her soul body. But
yeah.
how could she have made that appear?
So,
And then she didn't remember, my mom didn't remember the experience.
yeah. Yeah. So, Sherry, first, I want to say, your mom is very much still here, for
Oh yeah,
sure.
yeah.
For
I
sure.
have
Um,
she does show up and give me messages now very often.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, so my interpretation based on, my out of body experiences and what I have seen, my interpretation is as people begin to transition, because the other side is always available to us. We actually leave our bodies every night. We just are unconscious of it. So, and as you start that transition to the other side, these things happen more and more. So to me, it sounds really as if she began to leave her body and making her transitioning. And the soul always has the ultimate choice, right? To leave or to stay, except for in extenuating circumstances, right? So sounds to me as if she may have been checking on you guys in her soul form. I wouldn't call it an astral body. I would call it her. That's the real her,
Yeah.
the eternal aspect of herself. A common term for this is the soul. Um, I would say it was definitely her soul. And if you felt a physical touch, that was her soul. Our souls are physical. Um, when you're out of your body and your soul, you can touch things and they feel physical. And oftentimes, people will appear in their best physical appearance and things like that. That is a very common theme. Um, so yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Ah, so this is not part of the questions I was going to ask, but I'm just going to let it flow. Uh, so are there genders to the soul?
Yeah, yes, there is. You definitely see, there's definitely masculine and feminine energy. As above, so below. That concept stays true to almost everything, pretty much, as we are a reflection of the other side. We are just, in another version of it.
Yeah.
Um, as far as this construct goes, anyways.
So
Um,
like reincarnation, if someone is I mean, I feel female to my core. I'm very, very girly. Uh just very feminine. I love my feminine energy, and if I had to guess, if some people have asked me actually about past lives, and I've had experiences doing some past life regression work and whatever, and it's always been female. But when it comes to reincarnation, then could you be a different gender? And
yeah. Yeah, you can be a different gender. It's ultimately whatever choice you choose. So I like to compare things, and this is not to be insensitive or anything. This is just a way, I'm an engineer, so this is the way my brain thinks of these things. I oftentimes compare um this experience as a game, right? So imagine me and you, Sherry, we're on the other side, and I'm talking to you, and I say, "Hey, Sherry, I heard of this game where we can go into and we can forget who we are and pick a character and go inside and play. Um, but we will forget who we are, but it's an experience, right? Would you like to come?" And then you say yes or no, and then you pick your character, and your character can be male, female, the location, your parents, what do you really want to do in this game? That would be considered like the soul contract. Um, it's really that's the most simple way that I can explain this.
ah, okay. So the halls of Amente, then, is that where the soul records are, or all records?
So the soul records are really a part of what we call the universal records, right? It's a small section of all of the records. But the halls of Amenti, particularly, they are a records of a particular time period. This time period, we are deeming it as the ancient Egyptian or Atlantis time period. Um, Darius has found out, um, and this is a very good explanation. I can confirm this for myself as well. That time period, the way we think of it, it was actually the same time period. So ancient Egypt or Atlantis, that whole theory that we think of, it was all one time period, and that this was the time period that the pyramids and all of these great structures around the world that we find. This is that time period that those were built, and the halls of Amenti are a records of this time period.
Oh,
And it actually holds a lot of the keys to the universe. Because during this time period, we knew who we were, we knew how this place worked. Um, it was a different template completely. We were, bigger, more in tune, um, all of these things. So this time period holds the records of that particular time period because everything is recorded here. This conversation is recorded. We can access this conversation once we leave our body and we're on the other side. We can revisit and re-experience this conversation from your perspective, from my perspective, from outside perspectives. Um, so the same is true for all time periods.
mm,
And aside from just records of real time events that took place, there's also knowledge and information regarding how this place works and a lot of other critical information there as well.
yeah. I'm really curious to go visit there. I have some questions. I won't ask you all those questions today, but I am really curious, what role does the imagination play on the creation process, both individually for us? Because it's my understanding that we are all creators. And so I'm curious what role our imagination plays on that process of creation, and just individually, like in my own life, how does imagination work? And then collectively, because we're also a collective consciousness. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So when you say creation, are you talking about creation here or are you talking about creation
Uh,
in general?
Yeah, I was speaking of more here. I try to make things practical for people, and uh, a lot of the work that I do is around people's thoughts and how their thoughts can shape their reality and impact their health and their well-being. And uh, my mission is really to make sure that people are maximizing their in-body experience by going within and unlocking different abilities. And I believe that imagination plays a role in that. And I also believe that imagination, I assume, creates these thought forms, these potential realities and outcomes. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, that is very correct, except instead of imagination, I would like to use the term mindset. Because
Okay.
imagination often implies that, it's imaginary. These things are not imaginary by any means, because our thought forms, or we could say our thought forms, right?
Yeah,
Our
I like
thought
thought form.
forms,
Yeah.
yeah, our thought forms literally create dimensional spaces on the other side. And these dimensional spaces are physical. You can interact with them, and they are real. And so, yes, our thought forms do shape realities on the other side. And I can give you an example of this. Say you are in your room and you are thinking of a couch, right? Buying a new couch. Well, and you put a lot of thought on this. And
Yeah.
then, well, out of your body, if you left your body, you could enter that dimensional space where your room would have that couch in it. Um, so that is how our thoughts shape reality. And here it is the same, it is just as applicable here. Our thought forms create our reality here. So what you think, you become. Um, all of those phrases and similarities and what you attract, comes to you. All of those things are very true and they are very real. The only thing that makes it hard here is the fact that we live through time here in realm one. And when I say realm one, I'm talking about Earth, where we are, where we are living right now. Here we live through time, right? So our thought forms are creating these spaces, but to bring them into your life, so your thought forms can create potential future dimensional spaces as well, right? And to bring those things into your life, you think of something, you create that dimensional space. That dimensional space will then become a potential future that you can access. And then once this becomes a potential future, there's nothing left for you to do besides walk the path that is in alignment with that future. That is how you bring these dimensional spaces into your current reality.
So you don't continue to put energy, thought form into that, or
You
do you
can.
have to nurture it some? Like you it's my understanding and what I have taught is that I actually have a course that's called Thoughts Become Things, where you first think it and then you have to be it. You have to embody the version of yourself that lives that
Mhm,
life. And that
mhm.
by that embodiment, then you naturally are inspired to take the actions that are suitable for whatever the thing is and move in the direction of it. Does
Yes,
that?
that is very true. That is very true. I would 100% agree with that.
Okay.
Um, And on the other side, you can actually see these things and touch these things before they become the now, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
ah.
Um,
So can people experience multiple thought forms and versions because we live here on Earth where, you know, marriages happen, children happen, divorces happen, like your thought forms sometimes shift. And uh, I had an experience from within. So you do this out of body thing, and I do this in the body thing. So I I had went within, and I am divorced. So I went within, and I just I was exploring this idea of all of this unlived life. And I have a daughter who had brain cancer, and I also had to experience this unlived reality of what I thought her life was going to be like. And it was kind of like grieving the loss of these thoughts that I had about her future and things. And essentially, what happened from my space within, uh, it was like a ceremony, and it felt very much like a timeline collapsing. It felt like those thought forms were collapsed, and it was like I had this moment where I had to grieve this unlived life of being married. These experiences I thought my daughter would have, I just like had to grieve that those thought forms that I had created. But then they felt done. It didn't feel like there was something left. Does this make sense? And
yeah, that does make sense in a sense. And what I would say to that, because I don't want to put anything in your consciousness, whatever you feel it is, whatever you're first feeling about something, whatever that feeling is, that is the feeling to go with. That is how intuition can be described, right? Whatever you feel it is, that's what I would go with. Um, but aside from that, that can happen. If you put a lot of effort and consciousness and thought into something, um, it does create dimensional spaces on the other side, and we can create those and experience those as well. Um, so yeah, that's what it sounds like to me for sure.
and so here's a bit of the opposite of that thought pattern. And this is one of my questions to you is about parallel realities then. When, like, is it possible that there is a life that is still ongoing? That, let's say it was my daughter, for example, uh, is it possible that there's a timeline or some kind of parallel reality where she experienced life without her brain cancer?
So, based on what I have seen in my personal experiences, potential futures do play out. They do play out. However,
Like
when you
all the way.
no, once you cross the time when the decision or the event happens where that no longer becomes a potential future, they start to fade out and die down.
Oh, it just like
So,
dissolves?
yeah, and it's not you per se, it's your thought forms. It's a creation of your thoughts.
Yeah.
Out of your body, yes, these things are physical. You can see them and touch them. And this is where I feel like a lot of people get the idea of parallel realities because they see these other versions of themselves, but it's not really them. It's their thoughts or different thought forms because you are you right now, um, for sure.
Okay, so that's really fascinating. And I feel like that could be a whole other conversation. Like, how do you know when you're out of your body, whether you're in a thought form, because it feels real? How do you know if you're in a thought form or actually experiencing something quote unquote real?
Practice, practice and mentorship.
Oh,
um, yeah. So when you leave your body and you first come out, um, if I didn't have somebody who was doing this for 10 years every night, if I didn't have somebody like that doing these things and experiencing them, um, I come out and I would be completely lost. Like, what am I seeing? I just seen another me doing something. I think it was a parallel reality or another me, right? So that having that baseline understanding, that helps. Once you realize that you are you and you can access time on the other side, you can access past, present, and future. And you can also access thought forms, dreams, thought forms, potential futures, all of these things. So when you're first out, there is it's a frequency, right? That's the best term I can call it. And I know it's kind of hard to grasp what we exactly mean when we say that, but it's a feeling. It's a feeling that we know. Um, and I have learned how to control this out of my body. And I compare it to like a TV channel or a TV. I've heard this metaphor a lot of times, and it is a very good one. All things are happening at once, just like all channels on your TV are playing at once. You just have to turn the remote, change the frequency to view a different channel. So I've not only learned how to differentiate what I was seeing between a potential future, or if I'm seeing a real time event or a past time event, but I've also learned how to tune myself to see one single action or event from all of these different angles, meaning the past, the present, the future, um, all of these things, because they're all aspects of the same thing.
ah, okay. Whew.
Mm.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So you've been doing this for close to 2 years? Is that?
Um, About a little over a year. I think I bought his course January 2024. As when my mom passed away, I was still astral projecting and things
Okay.
like that. So a little
Okay.
bit over a year. Yeah.
And what would you say is the difference between astral projection and out of body?
From my personal experience, astral projection is more on a conscious level, where the out of body is you and your full soul, your full ultimate authority, the eternal aspect of yourself. When you're astral projecting, it's more so your consciousness of this life leaving, and you don't have access to everything. Like when I was astral projecting, I couldn't go to what we call heaven. I couldn't go to the other realms. But when you leave your body, it's physical. You return back to the eternal aspect of yourself, who you were before you came here, and
Hmm.
memories start to come back. This is when you can see beings. This is when past loved ones come to visit you. This is when you can travel to other realms. It's very physical, it's very real. You can touch, taste, feel, laugh, um, all of these things. And when you see another being, they are just as real as if I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me into another question. So, my daughter, when she was diagnosed with her brain cancer, that was December 18th, 2015. And when they removed her tumor, she lost all abilities. She could no longer move her arms and legs. She lost her ability to talk, all the things. Well, she sort of started coming back online. Her consciousness started to return. And uh, we were in the hospital for about 90 days. And then when she came home, she was in a wheelchair. And when you talked to her, you couldn't joke around. Like she didn't understand jokes. Everything was very black and white. And she was sitting on my bed and I was folding laundry, and she just starts talking about heaven and how she went to heaven and she saw my mom, and she just started just talking plain as day. And I knew enough. to know that she had an experience. No, I would not have doubted it, but I also didn't want to ask a question that would lead her into an answer. So I just pulled out my phone. That was a long time ago, but pulled out my phone and put it on voice memo. And I was just being curious. She was talking about how um, the flowers, I believe she said the flowers were like alive, and she was just talking about this experience. And so I asked out of curiosity, like, how did you get to heaven? And she was sort of like, I took the Stargate. Like I should know
Yeah,
what a
yeah,
Stargate is.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
had no flipping idea what a Stargate could be. And so I asked her these questions. I'm like, Stargate, Stargate. And this, was all those years ago. I'm trying to Google it. I can't find anything except a 1980s movie or something that was Stargate. And it gave me no indication of what that actually was. And I don't think that I even still knew until I heard Darius. I believe he used the word Stargate, and I was like, okay, so the Stargate is a real thing. So, can you explain from your experience what is a
yeah,
Stargate?
yeah, yeah. I certainly can. And there's multiple ways to take this. Because I've seen multiple Stargates. There is the physical types where they look like actual uh f- uh fixtures, like actual physical things. Um, you can look up pictures of these now. They have been finding them, all over the world from previous times. But they're like these stone things, and when you go into them, it's a frequency, and we were able to um, once you go into them, it takes you to another space and time within here, or anywhere within the construct, really.
Okay.
And you go into it, you match your frequency to these things, and it takes you to any realm or space or time that you want to go. We were able to fine tune them in a way to take us to specific areas. That is one version of Stargate, and then there are bigger versions of Stargates that are more conscious and more natural, you could say. And these are the cores. Each realm has a core, and these cores take you to the other realm. So like realm 1 has a core, and if you go into there, that's the first Stargate. The first Stargate can then take you to realm 5, which would be most closely associated with what we call heaven here on earth. So there's a couple different ways. So we were able to mimic the construct, the natural portals or stargates, to actually physical stargates here in real life.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah,
Huh. She mentioned that she saw a lot of gold. Can't remember
yeah.
exactly.
Heaven has a lot of gold. It is very white and very there's gold accents everywhere. Gold is a common theme throughout the construct I have found. It is a very common theme in the Egyptian or Atlantis time period, and it is a common theme in the heavenly realms, we can say, for sure.
Do you know what the reason for that is?
Me personally, I have not no being has really told me, so it would be more so me theorizing at this
Yeah.
point. So I don't at this time.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's see. Um, as far as like collective consciousness, what's your experience with what we can all do collectively? Because I do believe that when we all start waking up together and understanding what the truth actually is, that it's going to help with this, whatever this process is that we're within, trying to remember who we actually are. Uh, what is the benefit of more people waking up?
Benefit is everything. because once everybody wakes up, that is when everything will open up again. All the kingdoms of heaven will reopen, and we will essentially have, what people can call heaven on earth, right? So once we raise our consciousness, we shift the overall frequency of the entire realm. All of these things that people say, messages get filtered in from the other side all of the time, right?
Yeah,
All of these messages are true. Some of them come through a distorted lens, but the overall theme, the underlying message is true a lot of the time. And that is very true. So as we elevate our frequency, this conversation right now is elevating the frequency of this place. And once we reach a certain level of awareness, or a certain um, uh, once enough people become awakened, and things, everything will open up again. And it's not just people like me and you sharing these things. It's also part of the events that are naturally going to take place within here, that will happen. Things are being revealed through whistleblowers, through information being unfound. The internet is a big part of that. Information travel, so it's a lot harder to keep these secrets from the general public. More people are becoming aware of the evils at play here. Things are definitely changing and opening up. So aside from people like us, you know, spreading awareness and the overall message of unconditional love and these things, it is part of the natural events that are just taking place here. This is just the path that we are on.
when I was doing my inner work, working on getting into out of body state last night, uh, something that I saw from within was like it sort of looked like everything was sort of collapsing. And the message was that all of this false matrix kind of thing, all of this fear-based BS needs to collapse. And it's okay. Like we shouldn't resist the collapse and the stuff that is being revealed right now. And it's not to put us in more fear, but we should sort of welcome the collapse right now because it's
Yeah.
helping to clean this
Yeah.
up.
So I can put this into perspective a little bit. So how can you build something new and beautiful when something old and ugly is in its place? You can't. So in order for the new and beautiful to come in, the old and ugly kind of has to be torn down, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened. And there is never anything to fear, because it is our destiny and our true nature to blossom and to be great and to have unconditional love. And that's just in the natural plans or template or programming of this realm or this game that we are in, or whatever term you want to use to describe it.
Yeah. So, do you feel like most people need to take steps in terms of their consciousness? And one example of that would be I was just teaching in one of my new courses right now that some of the different levels of consciousness. Like one level of consciousness could be life is happening to you. There are many people that feel like life is happening to them and like they're kind of a victim to their life. And then an elevated consciousness, one that they can rise up from, that would be life is happening for them. And then they start to feel like, oh, you know what? XYZ happened and I see the silver lining in it and I grew from that experience and it's not really happening to me, but it's happening for me. And then they grow. And from there, so they can go to the next level, which is the one that I'm currently in, is that life is happening through you. Like life is happening in response to your thought forms. It's happening through your frequency and through your actions. And when you can be emotionally regulated and know that you are a sovereign being, and that makes you feel empowered to not live in fear. um, it starts to elevate. Does that?
Yeah, that makes completely sense. I would just like to not use that term consciousness because that implies that you have to do something or ascend to get somewhere. I would replace that with remember
Ah,
because those things are our natural state. We are infinite creator beings that have always existed. There is no beginning and there is no end. We have just always existed, each and every one of us. Each and every one of us is a soul. Each and every soul is unlimited. And we are creator beings. There is nothing stronger than the soul of the will or the will of the soul. There is nothing stronger than that. So what you think of, you will into fruition. Darius says this very well. Consciousness dictates the universe. The universe does not dictate consciousness. That
correct.
is essentially the best way in theme, overall arching theme to put you are not the victim, you are the creator of your reality.
Yeah, so it's way more empowering. I mean, maybe at first you're like, well, why the hell did I create this?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'd like to switch gears a little bit, because Earth can be very dense. And
It
once
is.
you've been out of the body and you've experienced that level of freedom, truth, remembrance, coming back into the body and having to go to a job that likely no longer aligns with what you know to be true, and dealing with other human beings who are not privy to the knowledge that you have, how in the hell are you staying sane and like living life day to day?
Yeah. That's a very great question. Very great question. Because before you have these experiences, you may dive down the conspiracy theorist path and start remembering and awakening these truths within you and realizing, things aren't lining up. But once you leave your body and you actually see something in real time take place in it, or you see the realm for what it is, it's not just a belief, it's a knowing. And you bring that knowing back in with you. Now, immediately when you return from the other side, you will have an overall understanding of pretty much everything, and you will think of things from the bigger perspective, and you bring more of your soul's frequency back within the body. So at that point, you find kind of feel like you're Superman, right? And you can navigate pretty much everything. But in time, that feeling wears down as you get conditioned into this matrix more, as you eat food, as you go back to these jobs and things. And once that happens, then you're just left with the knowing, right? And at that stage, it is very hard to deal with things. In my particular case, I realized the entire industry that I'm in is built off of a lie. So that hits home. I oftentimes feel like I'm just in a game. That's why I compare it to a game all the time because it really feels like that. Um, but it also helps to build a sense of community with other people that are leaving their body and seeing the other side and seeing these truths for themselves because it really is out of this world, truly. And so when you're leaving this world, this reality altogether, and it is very real, and you're remembering who you really are, it truly helps to talk to other people that are experiencing the same thing. Um, so it's nice to have a sense of community around you. Um, that's why I truly commend Darius because, before he came on the scene, nobody was really talking about this stuff. And
You know what's crazy about that is that people back, so I've listened to the teachings of Neville Goddard, which are pretty steeped in religion, with the Bible in particular, but some of his teaching really does make sense. But what most of his general stuff in the public, you wouldn't see this, but he was having groups of people get together and have out of body experiences. And this was back in the He taught from the 1930s to the 1960s. And he was having groups of people get together in New York and like leave their bodies. So
Yeah.
it's like this stuff has been there before. I don't know if it's intentionally
Yeah.
hidden or what is going on, but I'm really
Oh,
thankful that I'm learning about it now.
yeah. Now, in this new wave, it's kind of we have a lot of things working for us. I can put it in that way. It is time because everything that has been experienced here has been experienced by one soul or another. And as we said earlier, everything is recorded, right? So once it happens to one individual, the collective can re-experience that. So it is time for things to change, for sure. And um, where was I going with this? Um, Sorry that the
Yeah,
thought
that's
flew
okay.
my mind.
That's okay. Um, well, let's do one or two more questions and then hmm, what role do you think from my watching of your videos, I'm pretty sure that you talked about like money and jobs. Like what is the
Yeah.
purpose of that here?
So money is really just a part of the control structure here, right? Money, it's really just a part of the control structure here. This is the only place in existence that exists is in these seven continents that we live on.
Mhm.
Um, Money is this is the only place, and it's really just a form of control. And if you think about it, it is the reason why a lot of everything here is the way it is, why we have the illusion of control, because money creates inferior and superior people, um, the illusion of control, and the illusion of power,
Yeah.
right? Because in all reality, we are all infinite beings. We are all ultimate authorities of our reality, and no one is bigger or greater than the other. However, money is a great way that creates that division within people, and it's all an illusion. But yeah, that is essentially a system that we need to break away from, for sure.
Mm. So were you able to peek into other realities? And oh, this was one of my other questions. Do you still have the emotional scale? Like, do you still get angry or frustrated when you're out of your body? And I think some people just have this idea that everything is love and light and roses and fairies. And I'm like, I don't think it's actually like that. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure our personalities are, I mean, there
Yeah.
are parts of my personality that are just like spicy. And I'm hoping that
Those
it still stays that way.
Yeah, it certainly does. It certainly does. As above, so below. Nothing changes. Your thoughts don't change. Your personality doesn't really change. You just kind of step into more of yourself. Like you just become more godlike, you can say, and your memories come back. So now instead of just saying your personality can be a little spicy, now you actually remember why. You know, because maybe one experience you were who knows what you were doing, right? So your memories come back, but our personality and individuality, or what people deem the ego, that never goes away. That's part of the control structure here, is to misalign and misguide awakened souls on their path, is to make them believe that they have to be this um, love and light and giving their power away. It's really another way to make people feel weak and not have ultimate control of themselves.
Yeah. I would rather remind people of who they actually are so they're fully authentically themselves.
Yeah.
Because I
And
feel like that's where the real power is just being who you are.
yeah, and if you watch my videos on my channel, that's kind of why I talk how I talk, right? Just to try to tell people that you don't have to be any type of way to access your heavens. You
Yeah.
don't have to be any type of way. You have to move in unconditional love and integrity. Yes, but you don't have to lose your personality, the way you converse, the way you um you don't have to change that. You do have to move from this place of unconditional love. And unconditional love does not mean you're a pushover. It does not mean you just give yourself away. No, unconditional love, a mother could potentially hurt somebody out of unconditional love for her kid. It is that type of force. It,
Yeah.
you know,
And that
it is,
makes sense to me. I think that we've been mistaught on what unconditional love is because for a long time, the way I was taught unconditional love, it was like unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness, which had me really emotionally abused, really. If you, I'm not like pointing fingers at anyone, but I was like, oh, I just have to forgive everyone and I have to unconditionally accept whatever they're doing. And I was like, this feels really terrible.
yeah, no, if somebody's doing, you don't allow that to yourself, because then you're doing harm against yourself. Then you're not showing unconditional love to yourself. So
Yeah,
unconditional love can more so be described as authentic, maybe
yeah, yeah,
authentic and pure,
yeah,
um, and no judgment, because you can't have unconditional love with a judgment, right?
yeah,
So there's no judgment on the other side, but you just move in authenticity and integrity to who you are, who you are. And that's why the out of body experience is great, because you start to remember who you are. You truly do. You can remember your past life experiences. You can relive them, revisit them. I have. You can, and then you can even go all the way back to source, outside of everything, outside of all creation, and that's where your thoughts really come back. um, you can fully step into yourself and remember, and then you can take these things and apply them here in your life, right? Because Sherry, if you knew from the bottom of your heart, without 100% of a shadow of a doubt, that you were the ultimate creator of your reality, you were an ultimate being, an infinite creator, you have always existed, there is no end to you, don't you think you would start commanding things to be so?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And so is that the key? Is to just embody that and command? I mean, because I
yeah.
also feel like here in this illusion that there's something or someone outside of us controlling us, that we are fearful of commanding something to be.
Yeah, and don't be fearful. Command it. Yes, you command your will. You will it into existence.
And
This is
how would
what.
you do that? Can you give example? Can you give a practical example?
Yeah. So I I I elevated my entire life in 6 months through belief, because I knew I was an infinite creator, right? I knew all of these things. I just believed it. I took it as a knowing, not as a belief, but I knew it, and I actually elevated my entire life. Um, people have literally, through the will of their soul, healed their own diabetes. They have, where they were paralyzed and taught themselves how to walk. These are real examples. I just did a podcast Sunday with my co-host Bam Heck, where he said he stepped on a nail. He's a
I'll have to
construction.
watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, he stepped on a nail, and he called me that day. He said, "Bro, I'm literally about to will this shit into existence." Sorry, excuse my language. He said, "I'm
No,
really about to
please.
will this into existence." And he said, "I'm gonna make it be so." And he claimed it. He said that night he just put all of his will and belief into it, because when you understand these things, you can then heal yourself. Anything is possible. It is our own limitations that we put on ourselves that stop things from becoming a reality for us. Once you free your mind, you free your soul. And the next day, Hector, he literally, his whole foot was healed. I seen the picture myself. Um, there was no more hole. Um, so yeah, you can definitely will things into existence here.
Yeah, I believe that. I've
Yeah.
experienced. miracles myself, so I do
Right.
believe in that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so commanding things. What haven't we covered here? Let me just peek over my questions for you. As soon as we get off, I'm gonna remember all kinds of other questions we might have to do too.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Uh, would you say that us coming here to Earth then helps to refine or evolve our soul in some way? I mean, why else would we come here? Like, there's
Yeah.
obviously a reason for us coming here, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. There certainly is a reason. And experience is there is the best way to explain this is there is no form of money or hierarchy on the other side, but there is a sort of acknowledgement towards another human being or another soul, a respect level, and this comes through experience, right? So the more experiences you have, the more wisdom you then have. Wisdom is the ultimate key of the universe because source split out to experience itself. And how does it do that? It does that through experience. And what does experience bring? Experience brings wisdom. So the more experiences you have, then the more wisdom you have. So it truly is um, the number one way to grow the collective, to grow individually, to grow everything is through experiences. And this experience is none like no other in all of creation. This is the only one of its kind. This is kind of front and center on the other side. Like all souls really want to come here because this is the only place you can experience this. So after this, when we come back to the other side, we're going to have a whole bunch of experience that nobody else does.
and when this opens back up, then what?
Then it's just great, right? Then that's it, and then um, that's when people talk about the new Earth, right? And there's two ways to this. There really is. The new Earth is the shift that we're going on here, right? But then there is another new Earth because once this is done, another construct will be made with all the experiences that happened within this one. We will then make another one.
Are you gonna go for it?
I don't know. I think this is enough for me. I didn't want to come back here. To be
Yeah,
honest, I remembered some experiences and what I was doing here. I really did not was not looking forward to coming back here. Uh, but I did it for a reason. So here I
yeah,
am. Here we are,
yeah.
right?
Here we
Here we are.
are. I have that I call it within sight, like the sight within, because I have this like entire world within me that I go and workshop life, and I feel like some of it's astral projecting or whatever. But I very much got this inner knowing that this is my last experience on Earth. And boy, have I really signed up
It's a
for some things
relief.
in this lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that knowing, Sherry, feel that, if that's your knowing, that is chances are that is true for you.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I have learned is these feelings and these knowings that we have, they really are real. We are just taught to kind of shut them off or turn them off. But as you go to the other side and you come back and you realize, because then you can see these feelings and really you're really in tune with the other side,
Yeah.
you know, oh, so that's what that feels like when I'm receiving that. Or so these feelings are very real.
Well,
Um,
yeah, the experiences I've had within feel more real than this external world when I open my eyes a lot of times. And that's why my mission for many years, uh, minus the 7 year sabbatical-ish I took going through my daughter's experience, uh, my whole mission was to awaken people from within, to remind them how powerful they are, and that these experiences that I have, that they can have those too, and they can have them within themselves. And it's like some of the stuff is so it would be so hard to deny it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is very beautiful.
So does it also feel, is this true? Because this has been my experience many times, and also about a week ago I had an experience within. And the message that I got was that everything is actually here right now. It's just a matter of us being able to experience it. Like, let's say my mom, for example, my mom communicates to me all the time here in different ways. I haven't seen her like physically show up. My sister, she showed up physically in my sister's house and it scared her. Um, but the message is that like I know we're in this construct and there are these 12 realms, but are they all like literally right here? So could we just tune ourselves or peel
Yeah.
back the veil so we could experience more right now?
Yes, the other side is here right now. Everything is here right now. It's just out of our frequency, so to speak. We all exhibit, everything exhibits the same space,
Yeah.
just separated by frequency, right? All of those
Yeah.
terms are real.
So they're
And the
not
other,
like levels. People think heaven is somewhere above us,
no,
but it's actually
no,
here.
it's here. Yeah, it's here. So the construct was presented to me as levels, but that's just because I'm a critical thinker. So things are presented to you, you know, for your first time in a way that you can understand it because they are
Right.
aware that hey, you were just a human, you don't remember this. So let me
Yeah.
show it to you in a way that would trigger something within you, a
Yeah.
memory. But so
Yeah.
that's how it was shown to me. But what that did for me was make me remember, oh yeah, I am in a construct. I do remember how it works. I do remember, you know. It was more like that. Um, and the so yeah, everything doesn't inhibit the same space. It's just separated by frequency. Now, does that mean that your loved ones are here all the time? Not so much, because chances are they're in another realm,
Yeah, they're
maybe
doing
not
other
having
things.
it.
We have other
Yeah,
things to do than to hang out here on Earth. This is the
yeah,
last
yeah,
place I'd be like, oh, let me go right back and hang out there. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
so this one, I don't actually talk about this a ton, but it's come up recently. When my sister, who is a year older than me, when we were 3 and 4 years old, we had an imaginary friend who we could both see. We could describe her the same. We knew her name. We'd have tea parties with her. And my mom always thought it was strange when my mom would like come in our bedroom and we would both yell at my mom at the same time that she just knocked Shubi over. Shubi was her name. She'd knock her over, or we'd be having a tea party. My mom would sit down and sit on her, and then we would both yell at the same time. You just sat on her, or it would happen in the kitchen or the couch. And my mom was like, this imaginary friend has to be real. They can both see her, and I can't, but whatever. So eventually she just went away. I don't remember how old I was, probably
Oh,
4 or 5. I'm assuming school. So recently, like within the last week, I went within and I was curious about this imaginary friend because I do believe that there's a realm where fairy type people exist.
yeah.
So I said, because I do
Hold on.
remember, like,
Fairies are actually here too. Like they literally are in this within this realm
within
too.
this realm where we can experience them.
Yeah, yeah. That is
Yeah.
100% fact. Yeah.
So when I asked her, because I'm pretty sure she was
Yeah,
fairy realm,
yeah,
I asked her the other day, I was like, Shubi, if you can hear me, like, I asked her, why did you leave? Because she was like our best friend, right? And I remember feeling a sense of loss. And my mom, like, wondered what happened to her, all the things. So I was like, why did you leave? And she said, I never left. You were just no longer able to perceive me.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like, well,
yeah.
that makes a
And
lot of sense.
yeah, yeah, they're here all the time. That is very true. This can be thought of. as when we're younger, we're fresh from the other side, right? So we're
Yeah,
not conditioned with our beliefs yet. I've said it earlier. The only limitations are the beliefs that we put on ourselves.
yeah,
So once you're born, you know what happens. We're born, we're conditioned first by our parents, and you're taught to go to school. You're taught that these things aren't real, these things are mythical. So you naturally shut these things down because you have to operate within this world, right? So as you're growing and developing, your brain's developing, it has to take in all this information to act and how to be in here. So you're gonna naturally shut these things down.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why when I teach most of the stuff I teach, I'm like, this isn't new. All you're doing is remembering. This is
Yeah.
all about remembering who you actually
Yeah.
are. It's not even really new. It's about forgetting all the stuff you picked up along the way.
Yeah. 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 For sure. For sure. Um, it's just a remembering because all the knowledge is within you. The kingdoms of heaven are within you. Everything is within you. That is for sure.
Yeah. So to leave this on an empowering note, because I could keep you all day and I have so many more questions. If you're open to it, maybe we could do a part two. Uh,
I would be open to that. Yeah, of course.
yeah. So anything you would like to share with people, maybe a couple tips on if they're curious and would like to know how to have an out of body experience, an OBE, what tips would you give them?
Yeah. So if you're curious into having an out of body state, there's a couple things here. First, you need to understand that fear is a limiting belief. You need to break free of all limiting beliefs that you hold about yourself. You are an infinite creator, an infinite being. There is no power greater than you in all of creation. You are the greatest power in creation. So there is nothing to fear. Um, the second is you need to break free of the illusion of death because an out of body experience truly feels as if you are dying. So you have to really understand that death is an illusion because what we're doing is we're crossing that threshold, um, between here and there. It is the same thing as a near death experience, only we are doing it on purpose, in a sense, if that makes sense. um, that transition stage when your soul physically leaves your body, it is the same sensation that you will get in a near death experience. It is the same sensation that you will ultimately receive when you actually do cross over. So, fear is the number one way to entrap a soul. It is the number one way to entrap a soul here, literally, because if you are scared of the other side, you will literally create a box for you and you will not be able to go. So you first have to break out of fear. That is the number one way, and that is why I spend a lot of my time preaching that mindset is everything to get out of fear. Um, so those are my major keys: is sleep paralysis is the gateway to the other side, and fear is a limiting belief, and you are the ultimate authority of your universe, an ultimate creator of your universe.
Can we command ourselves to get into sleep paralysis?
I tried that. I've tried that.
Did that
No.
work?
No, and it works with like astral projection and things, but sleep paralysis or leaving your body, it's such a real process because your soul is actually leaving your body. Like your physical body is really lifeless at that point. So this is another thing too. You are always in ultimate authority. You can always come back. So never have any fear. You are always in control. So you always have the choice to come back. Don't be afraid of that either.
Do you get
Um,
that choice every time you leave? Like,
no.
how do you decide when you're coming back into your body? How do you know it's time to wake up, I gotta go to this job?
So I mean, in realm one time, not much time passes in these experiences, right? In sleep we undergo natural sleep cycles. So naturally, while you're sleeping, your body will begin to wake up. So we are naturally tethered to this body. So when I'm out of my body, if somebody shakes me, I'm coming right back.
Yeah, you just
Um,
get pulled out of the experience you're in and you're just like, do you know it's happening? Do you know you're going back in your
for
body?
me, for me, it kind of feels it's different every time. Sometimes it just happens like you're there and then bam, you're back in your body. Other times it's more like I feel my awareness starting to shift, and then
To
I'm like, oh
fade.
crap, I'm going back. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I'm going back. Um, it happens in many different ways, but yeah, it is a very cool feeling. I would advise everybody out there to experience this for themselves because it is great because you get to come back and be a human again, right?
So was your
And
mom somehow helping you get into sleep paralysis that led you down this path because you were probably ultimately meant to go down this road and have this remembrance, right?
yeah, this was a particular path for me. I wouldn't say she was helping me get into sleep paralysis. I'm under the belief that when you sleep paralysis happens naturally, it's more your soul, you waking you up to the fact that,
Yeah. Like
hey, you need to
you're
leave
in
your
it,
body.
we're gonna wake up within this dream,
Yeah, like
this
let's get
life
out of this
dream.
game, guys.
Yeah.
Um, and then because typically once that happens, the like I still wake up in sleep paralysis, but that's because I've trained myself to do so. But a lot of times people will say, "Yo, I've had all these sleep paralysis all the time happening." And then as soon as they find out about the out of body experience and how you can leave through sleep paralysis, those spontaneous sleep paralysis events stop.
They stop because
So,
there's
yeah.
putting too much. I know, I've been like it happened randomly, but hasn't happened again for me, my
Yes.
sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
And I will tell you something interesting. Uh, just recently, in the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, my kids have mentioned, I have two daughters, they both mentioned to me separately that when they're at school, sometimes when they're bored and just kind of zoning off, they feel like they're out of their body looking at themselves. And I was like, oh, really? So then I just said, have you ever left your body? Like had an out of body experience? And my daughter was like, yeah. It was like I saw my body on the bed and I was like, well, where'd you go? And she's like, I don't know, just around the house. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Then I asked
yeah.
my other daughter and she's like, yeah, I've done that once or twice. Like it's no big deal. So then I'm like, maybe it's just my kids because I'm very open to like the last 18 to 20 years of my life, I've been there's nothing out of the realm of possibility in our world. So I'm like, well, maybe they're just more sensitive like me and they're having these cool experiences. So then I asked one of my daughter's best friends, and I said, hey, you ever had an out of body experience where you like left your body? And she was like, yeah, I was having this cool dream and I was falling, and then I just like fell right out of my body in my bedroom. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. And
Yeah.
then I asked, my daughter has her first little middle school boyfriend, and this kid, I'd never hung out with him before, and he wanted to go to her track meet and asked if he could ride with me by himself for 40 minutes. And I was like, okay, here we go. I'm going to ask him some interesting questions. So I asked him,
Yeah.
has he ever had an out of body experience? And he's like, no, but my sister, like, I think my sister has, but she wakes up and she's like stuck in her body and she can only move her eyes. And I was like, is she having sleep paralysis? And he's like, that's what it sounds like. And I was like, would you like to come over for dinner on Saturday and bring your sister? So we did. And she came over on Saturday. She's 20. She wakes up all the time in sleep paralysis and it
Yeah.
terrifies her. So I was like, okay, here's what you can do. And then I turned around to your guys' pages so you might
Oh, that's great. That's
see
great.
her on
Yeah,
there.
that's great. I was just gonna say, send her to me. I'll tell her
Yes.
it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's actually it's funny because they say as above, so below, right? They say here before something great comes to you, you often go through this wave of turbulence, right? It's
Yeah.
the same thing. Before the greatest thing that can ever happen to you happens, you're gonna experience a little scary sleep paralysis. But once you break that threshold and you release all fear, um, I mean, think about going to heaven, right? That's literally
Yeah.
what we do.
So it does make me wonder
Um,
if more of these kids, because these are only really been children I've been asking these questions to, but if they're not really conditioned to know that it might feel like they're dying to leave their body, maybe they're just coming in more
Yeah.
capable of
Yeah.
having those
Yeah.
experiences. I mean, my kids are 13 and 16, so it's not like they're toddlers. I
Yeah.
mean,
An event I seen out of my body, I was kind of shown, kind of how I said, how is it going to happen? Right. And I was shown the dynamics of this place is shifting. The natural the energy field around here is shifting. It's becoming looser. The realms are beginning to blend in a
yep,
sense. I was shown all of these things. The realms are beginning to blend, and so what that allows is new souls coming in here. They have more abilities than what we were able to before. So that's another way that it's happening. So it's happening, consciously. We're all awakening, but it's also happening physically.
yeah.
These physical bodies are also starting to. We're
Oh,
starting to have these abilities. Yeah.
yeah, interesting. I had a dream. I've been consciously attempting the OBE since November of 2024. And I was having a dream, very lucid dream, where there were all these people around and it was really not interesting to me. So I tried to get away from where all the people were. And then I was meditating. In the dream, I was meditating and I started to lift out of my body and I could feel myself lifting and it felt so amazing. And then in my dream, some guy said, "Look, she's transitioning, she's dying." And I was like,
Yeah, it
son
scared
of
you.
a
Yeah.
bitch, I'm not. In my dream, my daughter was there. I was like, I don't want to die yet. Damn it. And
Yeah.
I had to like put all of my focus to stop from elevating. I mean, it
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
everything I had, all of my focus had to go to get back into the body. And I wasn't happy about it, but I was like, oh, I don't want to go back, but I'm going to do this. And it like took every effort I had to get back in my body. And then I woke up. But then I was pissed because I was like, I wonder if
Then you missed it, right? Then you
I
missed it.
missed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Then
That
you
was
missed it. Yeah.
probably my way
Yeah.
out of the freaking body. And then I was like,
Yeah.
was that just some underlying fear that I was
Yeah.
actually gonna die and my daughter was gonna find me or something? I don't know. But I was so annoyed because I was like, it was right there and it was feeling so good. I was just like,
Yeah. I've had experiences like that as well, where I be in that in between stage, and it always have something that when especially when it has to do with your kid, right?
yeah,
So my son, I had an experience where I was like, I was in that in between stage, and I was like, it would happen. I did it unconsciously, so I had just woke up in this state, and I was like, oh no, um, it was a feeling of separation. I'm used to that, but for some reason, I heard something, and I was in a dimensional space, obvious. So I heard somebody say something, and they said, "Oh my God, he's going away," and I said, "No, I can't leave. I got my son.
yeah,
I can't leave." Um, so that's and that same pullback that you had because you didn't want her to leave. That's the
yeah,
same pullback your mom had in the beginning when she was touching your legs as she was about to transition. She was seeing where you guys were, if you guys were okay with that
yeah,
transition.
yeah.
Um,
Ooh,
it's the same feeling, you know.
yeah. Oh, that just brought that full circle, didn't it?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, see, these are all the fascinating things. Now I'm like, to have a sense of community of people that can just talk about this kind of stuff is just everything, you know?
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah,
is
because
just,
we're taught that these things are nonsense, even as little as 5 years ago, these things weren't talked about as much,
oh, I
and things.
know. Some people now, I mean, I live in Iowa in the Midwest, and it's still pretty steeped in religion. I mean, I made a joke about being a witch because I have a cabinet with herbs in it, and my friend asked me what she could take to help with her lungs. So I pulled herbs out or tinctures to heal things
Yeah.
naturally. And I made a joke and I just got like, I got it from this woman. She was just like, Jesus and I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it's like, come on, people. Like, let's
Let's break
let's
out of this
where
box
are
that we're
you
in.
in the
Yeah.
world?
I'm on the East Coast. I'm on the
Okay.
East Coast.
Are people
Have you
pretty open-minded? Like, do you have these conversations? Do you have a friend group there
a
that's like,
personal friend group?
yeah,
No. So I talk about this stuff openly, right? Like everybody knows I leave my
yeah,
body. It's no secret. Like, because once you leave it and you see it for yourself, it's no longer a belief, it's a knowing. And
yeah,
either they're gonna find out now or they're gonna find out when they die.
yeah,
And it's an inevitable truth. So I
yep,
talk about it to everybody, try to wake everybody up, everybody knows. And within that, with saying that, there are certain people that this resonates with more, but people do listen and they do tune in, but I feel like they're more conditioned in their box and in this game of life that they're in to really open up and expand their consciousness in this way.
yeah.
But there are certain people that tune in. There's some select few individuals, but no, my community mostly stems from Darius and that world. Um, from people all over the world. We do this. We're from all over the world, all
You
over the
guys get
country.
together like online
Oh,
collectively and share your
yeah,
experience?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We communicate. We communicate. There's open lines of communication and things. Yeah.
I may need to just take the program and, you know, get because
Yeah,
I
for sure. Join the Telegram group. There's a Telegram group. It's on his YouTube channel. There's a Telegram link. You can join mine. We
I
can
am. I'm in
exchange
your
info. Are
Telegram.
you?
Yes.
Welcome,
I think you
welcome,
have two.
Sherry.
Do you have two? I believe I'm in.
Yes, I have
I
a
don't
channel
do
where I
much with
post
Telegram, but I'm
announcements.
in I'm in both of yours.
Oh,
I know I'm
nice.
like
Yeah.
binging your stuff. I'm just like, okay, tell me all the things and I'm ready to go. Uh
Yeah.
one last question. I know I've said that a few times now. But I was having this experience where I was drifting to sleep and about every night I set the intention. I'm either intentionally trying to stay awake or I'm trying to go to sleep with the intention of having a lucid dream and waking up in it. And uh, I was just starting to like drift asleep. I wasn't thinking about anything and I could feel myself falling asleep. And then it felt like I walked into a damn wall. I mean, literally, it felt like I just like smacked into a wall and it woke me up and I was like, what was that? Like I felt like I just like literally walked into a wall. Could that have been something happening? I didn't know how to explain it. I had no idea. What?
Yeah. You could have been out of your body. Like when tell you that we leave our bodies all the time, we truly do. And now that I'm aware and I've trained my consciousness in a way where I am aware throughout the night. So I can leave the body many different ways. If I really want to do it on purpose with intention to target to make sure I 100% go, I will consciously shut my body down, enter sleep paralysis and leave. But more oftentimes than not, even if I don't do anything throughout the night, I've trained my consciousness in a way to become aware in dreams, lucid dream constantly. And I've also trained it in a way to notice the sensations in my body. So I will oftentimes wake up in what we call the strong vibrational phase, where it feels like you're having a seizure. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. That's your soul's frequency rising. So if I ever experience that, that will happen. Um, I've also experienced or I've trained my consciousness in a way to wake up naturally in sleep paralysis as well. So even if I don't consciously shut my body down, I'm waking up in all of these stages throughout the night, sometimes multiple times a night. So we leave our bodies all the time. And I've even had plenty experiences where I have been out of my body unaware. My mom who passed away, she's been in my house. I've talked to her and I didn't even realize I was out of my body, right? um, until after the fact.
And then you're like,
Uh,
oh, my mom has passed.
yeah,
Transition.
yeah, 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 yeah. Like, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, there's all of these things. So yeah, if you ever notice yourself out in this weird stage, just start to become aware, start to train yourself to become aware, and you might not even have to enter sleep paralysis. You might just wake up out of body. um,
Ah, okay. So it makes me wonder if maybe I have been having more of these experiences than I realize. I'm just like, I'm ready for that moment where I see my body and then get the hell out of the room.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that shift, right now, I can't explain that feeling when you first leave your body and you see your physical body and you touch your hands and they are also physical, and and you see your body, you're like, wow, I really do exist outside of here. This is real.
So what do you
And
look like? What do you look like out your
so immediately after, you're gonna look like yourself, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Immediately after, you still look like yourself. It holds the blueprint of your physical body, you could say. So like when I first leave, I look like myself. Oftentimes, I may be dressed differently. I wear robes sometimes. I could be in a robe. I could be in regular clothes. You can be in whatever else, but right away I look like myself. And then after that, I don't even care what I look like, right? Because it's like I'm just out and
Yeah.
I'm seeing things like heaven and all these other
Yeah.
places. So it doesn't even cross my mind to change, but you can change the way you physically look. Um, you certainly can. It just takes a little bit of effort because we're not on the other side for a long period of time. We just leave for literally minutes here, and the experiences can
Oh, so
feel
it
like
really is
months.
minutes. So you're not out of your body like for hours.
It feels like when I say it can feel like that, and because we time only exists really here, right? So
Yeah.
you can process amount of information. It can feel like you were out for months. It can feel like you were out for a couple hours. It can feel like a couple days. But then when you come back, it's only been a couple minutes that have passed.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah, um, yeah. So when you're viewing real time events, though, when your soul is viewing, say I was coming to see you right now, sitting down in that chair, um however amount of time that I spend there is the real amount of time that I'm out of my body. But once you're out of there, time is like non-existent.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your mom, does she always look the way you remember her to be when you see her in your
Yeah, and
lucid
so
state?
at first when she started to present herself to me, yes, she did. She did appear more younger, more physically fit, you could say, and her voice was different.
Ah,
But you still know it's her,
yeah.
and she was out. Her vibration was very high, and she was just in like her ultimate authority, her ultimate, her.
Yeah.
It was very beautiful, to see her in that way. It was very very beautiful. Just overjoyed, over jealous. Just overjoyed with just happiness for her. You know, that she, but yeah, it shows they do look a little different. So she's hanging out around here. She's waiting for us to cross over. Um, so
Before
she
she gets
does.
out of the construct. So does she stay in the construct? Because
Yeah,
then
yeah.
when you're done, can you
She's got
just
the.
automatically leave
You
the
can,
12?
yeah, yeah. When you're done, you can get out of here. That's probably what I'm gonna do. Honestly, like I'm done. I'm out for a little bit.
So
I
is
need
your
to
mom just
retreat.
hanging in the construct still, or can she actually still leave
So
too?
she has the template of 30. So, I'm under the belief that I don't know. I haven't asked her like, "Hey, where are you?" but I'm on she comes to me in the template of like 30. So I'm under the impression that, she's hanging out in what we call, realm 5 in the heavenly realms, and the white and gold themed, and I'm pretty sure that's where she's at, cuz that's where she comes to me in the template of age 30. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what my mom looked like when she
she's
was.
probably there waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yep.
sense to me.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. I have maybe one question for you outside of this, and I'm going to let you go because I'm sure someone appears to be waiting for you. So, one second, let me stop this. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we're going to do a part two. Okay, Andre? Okay,
Okay.
hold on.